He turned down the lead role in the TV show The Office. And Steve Carell, we know he ended up getting that gig.
So, you know, they were curious, and I said, I can't do it. So, and by the way, Steve Carell, no one could do it better. He crushed it. And I went and played Ari Gold, so everybody wins.
Big Boys Neighborhood, beautiful day in the neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, man, Jeremy Piven is back in the neighborhood. And Jeremy, you're one of those people that, and I know you get this all the time, do people look at you and it's always familiar? Or do they laugh at you? Or, you know, like, as soon as I saw you, I just started laughing.
Right. Well, I love that.
Man.
It's better than crying, or it's better than yelling, or it's, you know.
But you got a connection with people.
You know what? I've had people come up to me, guys come up to me and say, hey, man, I'm a douchebag because of you, bro. Ooh. And it's very.
Do you like that?
It's usually at the urinal, so it's a little. It's awkward. It's very awkward. No, dudes say like, you act the way we feel,
right?
And that's heavy. That's like it's a beautiful honor. You know, I love that. Listen, you know that we do this to connect with people, and the fact that I connected with people, and maybe, you know, if the characters that I play are fictional and yet they think they're real, then I'm doing something right. It's a little awkward,
right?
But, you know, I'm doing something right.
Hey, man, it seems like, especially with Ari, but anytime that we see you with Ari, it didn't seem like you were acting. Of course, we know you're acting, but it just felt effortless. And I think everybody at some point wanted to be that guy. Like, people even in therapy, like, man, how could I be like an Ari Gold, you know? Just wear it on my sleeve.
Yeah, man. You know from doing stand-up, the harder you work, the easier it looks.
Right.
You know? So there's a little bit of a method to the madness, and people think that was all improvised. It was written. You know, Doug Ellen wrote every word of that. Yeah, absolutely.
It just seemed like they just said, okay, this is what we're looking for, end up here.
Wouldn't that would be the dream.
Right.
That would be the dream. Because,
that would probably be the pressure, too, because if they were writing it, too. But I don't think anyone could have delivered the way you delivered.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, you know from doing stand-up, that's the freedom we're looking for. And be careful what you look for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because my background, part of my background is improv.
Right.
I started the Second City with Chris Farley about 2,000 years ago in Chicago.
Yes,
That's
sir.
how old I am. Don't do the math on that.
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
So I love to improvise, and I could point to many movies in which the whole thing was improvised. But with Entourage, it's exactly what you just said. I have to make it look like it's all improvised moment to moment, and I'm ending up there. So that just is one of those things where it was an honor to do it, but they were like letter perfect. There was someone there standing there going, you know, you got it. It was like taking your SATs every day.
Oh, damn.
But by the way, you know, from I'm looking at that picture of Kobe back there, you know, and it reminded me of his work ethic. You know, which you just grind as hard as you can, and then you get to live the dream. I remember I was at a Lakers game, and I'm sitting there, and he comes over, and in the middle of the game, he pulls his short. You know, he's pulling on his shorts, and he's looking around, but he doesn't look you in the eyes. He goes, "Let me ask you a question, man." And I'm looking around, who's he talking to?
Right.
And then I realize he's talking to me. And he goes, "Man, when I'm watching you do that show, and it looks like you're really angry, man. How do you do that?" And I was like, is this really happening right now? Is this dude ask? And people are looking at me like he never talks to us, right? And I said, man, let me ask you something. When the clock is running down, there's 1 billion people watching you, and you drain a 3. How do you do that?
Right.
And he just looked at me, and then he just sprinted down the court. And
because it was a game going on.
It was a game. It was in the middle of a game.
Kobe, he got the ball. Go. Man, but Kobe, did he do a cameo on
Never
Entourage? Okay, I thought that there was a lost episode or something like that.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there was a moment, because we used to film at the Lakers game all the time. There was a moment when they were doing a shoot around, and we were setting up the cameras, and I just told one of the camera guys to come with me, and I was mic'd up. And he was just, you know, doing a shoot around before the game. I went up to him, and just totally in character, I told the guy to start filming. And I just tried to, like, poach him as a client. You know, I just approached him. You know what I mean? And so I just started improvising. It was the one time when, you know, there really was no script. And so I was trying to get him as a client, tell him that I thought he'd be really charismatic on camera. And he's just sitting there popping in threes, and he was like, nah, man, I don't have it like that. That's not my thing. You know, Denzel, those guys, not me, man. And as he's talking and draining threes, he's so charismatic and like you can't take your eyes off him. So he's telling me that he has no charisma while having all the charisma in the world. It was really surreal.
Hey, man, is this before or after the in-game one-on-one y'all had?
Where I beat him?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about when you were sitting down and he came to you and y'all had the conversation.
You know, that's a great question. God, I think it was before. It was before.
Okay.
It was before, but you know, he was just a fascinating dude, and it just, not that I would ever equate myself with him ever, but he was such a curious dude. He just was curious about anyone else's process, you know, and that's why he, in the middle of a game, asked me a question. You know what I mean? He just wanted to learn. Anyway, I didn't mean to.
No. I love
distract
it, bro.
you from
that. I love it, man. And even when we go back to Entourage, man, it's crazy. I had people, Jeremy, that didn't know I did radio. And they were like, "Oh, you're from Entourage." And I'm like, "Dude, I only did like 2 episodes."
That's amazing.
But that was one of them things where people thought either I arrived. I still get, like, people think I did seasons. People come up to me, Jeremy, and they say, "Man, I love you on Entourage." And I'm like, "Dude, I was on twice."
Yeah, but you had an impact.
Oh my God, man!
I'll remember that.
It had an impact on me too, bro.
Yeah, because you know it was such a the world is so authentic, and so when he stepped into that world, it was just alive.
Yeah, man.
You know, and you guys popped.
And also, man, I think that I carried the episode.
Well,
you know, it was like it was one of those things where I was as you drink your coffee and look around, not really acknowledging me. Yeah, I just thought that I went in there, man, Jeremy, and I effing nailed it. I nailed it, man. You know, I knew what standards I had to come in to do Entourage.
Yes.
And I took it to Natalia a whole nother level.
Uh-oh.
That's what I did
high
over there.
notes.
Yeah, you got to hit that sometime. I'm wearing tight
Do you
drawers.
remember that nightmare where you and I were in the middle of the pandemic and we were doing stand-up comedy for screens?
Oh, my God. Let me tell you, man. During the pandemic, we didn't know how long we were going to be in, and we didn't know what the out was going to look like. So then they gave you a little bit of, we'll do a club at 0.25% capacity, half capacity. And early on, they said, well, you know what we'll do? Was it the Laugh Factory we did?
Yeah.
Laugh Factory. And they were like, but we're going to it was like this new technology where people will watch from home and they'll be able to watch the show live, and there was monitors set up. And Jeremy Piven, I admire your work, bro. And I even told my crew, I was like, we're using Jeremy Piven, the favor or whatever, for this one.
Yeah.
And you came in. It was very awkward. You killed it. I thought it was a very horrible night. And because when I got on stage, you're just looking at monitors and there's people sitting at the house like this.
Yeah, they look like they were in the witness protection program, and they were getting. I mean, I've never bombed virtually so bad in my life. So I started playing the whole set to you.
Yeah, man.
Because you were the only, you and your buddy were there, and we had a great time. We made the most of it.
You just laughed, but I remember when I got on stage, it was so awkward.
Yeah.
And you just see some people getting up, walking away, and then trying to come back, and I was like, oh my God, this is comedy now?
But here's and we both played drive-ins where people are beeping that we didn't know if they were liking it or they wanted us to get out of the way. Yeah. We didn't know what was happening. But by the way, that's how you get better.
Right. We all need a laugh right now, bro.
We do, man.
Yeah, man.
Everything's so crazy. I mean, they're talking about mask mandates coming back. We don't know what in God's name is happening.
I talked to one of my guys, and he was like, yeah, I was on with the CDC. He said it was like 1,000 of them on a call. And he was just saying certain things, and I'm like, man, good luck on trying to get people back in the house.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, man. So what did you do during that darkness of the pandemic? Because at one point, entertainment kind of closed down. The world closed down. So everything under there, comedy clubs. What did you do?
I have this great relationship with my mother. I talk about it on stage.
Praise God.
And I'm a mama's boy. And it's funny, when I was doing Entourage, for instance, I would run lines with her. And people are like, you do lines with your mom? I go, no. I don't do lines. There's a difference. Kids at home don't do lines with your mom. Yeah. No, I run lines with her. And so, yes, exactly. So she would test me. So everything I said as Ari Gold, I said to my mom's face, which is insane because my character was very offensive. Mm-hmm. But she's a total pro and she stays in the pocket. So, she's older. And so to have that connection with her. And so I'd work on different pieces. And so we would, virtually, connect in that way. you know, you gotta, if you have a meditative practice, you got to stay with that.
Yeah,
you just
man.
try not to go crazy.
Yeah.
Is basically what we did.
Yeah, and plus we didn't know what the out date was.
No.
You know, like, oh, we'll be, and then you was like, oh, we got 6 weeks. It was none of that.
No.
You know, I'm sitting here spraying groceries, and man, I bought so many Lysol wipes, and it was just a crazy moment to come out of. You know what I'm saying? And be where we are today. Had you always been into comedy? Because when you say, you know, I did improv. Were you at Second City?
Yes.
At Second City, and so it was always. You always aspired to be a comedian, or you just felt like I was a funny guy?
I think like anyone else growing up and watching Eddie Murphy and watch guys kill it, and he did it in a way that we'd never seen before. I mean, he was killing it so hard, you would have to go to the movie theater to watch him and pay a ticket to watch his stand-up.
You watched a concert at the theater.
Right, that's how good he was.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, watching all those guys growing up, being a huge fan of Saturday Night Live. So I was always an actor on stage doing plays, but then I was also doing improv and sketch comedy. And I always, you know, we were always respectful and terrified of stand-up. So, you know, I always, you know, said I'm gonna get after it. But, I think it was Marlon Brando that said, he said, you know, Hollywood's one of these places where you go and sit by the pool and you get up and it's 20 years later. That's really scary. That's a really scary thought. But you know what I mean? Let that sit
why
with
did I just have that moment right now?
So there's sometimes, you know, you can get lost in Hollywood. You know what I mean? And I was a little bit of a slave to my ambition. And so what's the next job? What's the next job? What's the next job?
Gotcha.
Instead of going, hold on a second. Wait, let's take a beat here. And so finally I went, you know, I want to improvise. Because with Entourage, you know, I'm always pitching ideas and what about this joke and that joke? And then I thought, why not just get up and do all your own jokes?
Right.
And so, you know, at first, as you know, you have to be okay bombing. You have to be okay with rejection.
See, I'm not good with that. Yeah, and you know, and you, I've heard you say a few times, like, yeah, and you know, you do stand up, and it's a difference between what I do and what you guys do. Like with me, I know how to host.
Yeah.
I know how to get on. I know how to get off.
Right.
And there's a difference. Like, people can listen to The Neighborhood. They can say, oh, Big, you're so funny. I'll take that.
Yeah.
And during my show, if I'm on for an hour or I'm on for, 3-4 hours a day on radio, I can make you laugh. You know what I'm saying? I can make you laugh within the hour.
Yeah.
I can't make you laugh for an hour. There's a difference.
I guarantee you could if you said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dedicate a year to material. And I'm going to get up at dive bars, and it's going to be brutal, and I'm going to grind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But let me tell you, bro, I have been sitting by, taking from Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
I've been sitting by that pool when it comes to comedy, because I even looked at this whole thing that I wrote up, and I looked at the date. I was like, oh my God, that was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't even did like one piece of that as stand-up, you know? But yeah, it's a different world. How long have you been doing stand-up comedy?
You know, I got thrown up about 15 years ago at which, by the way, you say wow, and the reality is you talk to guys of our generation like Chappelle and whatnot. He's the oldest young stand-up in the world. He's been doing this since he was 14. You know, these guys have been doing it 30, 40 years. Yeah. And so they hear a number like that and they're like, oh, come on,
let me
you're
tell
a
you,
baby.
the reason why I said wow is because that's long and short at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, like 15 years. It's like there's some people that there's some comedians that I've seen do comedy for 20, 25 years. And they're still, they haven't turned that corner.
And then you hear people doing like, oh, I've been working on material for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, you worked 3 years to do like, you know what I mean?
I got to write a new hour.
That's
it's going to take me another year to write. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, but I love watching these guys. Like, you know, I was at the Comedy Store last night, you know, and that's just one of the most legendary places. In fact, Mike Binder, that directed the documentary about the Comedy Store, is opening for me at Brea this weekend. I keep bringing up Brea. I'm sorry.
As you should.
There you go. So he was a dude that, I don't know if you've seen the documentary about the Comedy Store, but it's fascinating. You know, so many people came out of there. And the reality is, what I was going to say is 15 years ago, my agent said, you should do Just for Laughs, one of the biggest, you know, festivals ever with comedy. And so I was like, okay, I'm not a stand-up, but if you think I should do it. So I flew out there thinking my agent knows what I do. So I got out there.
And is that in Canada?
In Canada,
Yeah.
Montreal. And so I got there, and a buddy of mine who's a stand-up said, let's go take a look at the venue and just see what they want from you. We went there, and it was the night before, and we said, what do you need from Jeremy? And he said, well, it's going to be live on TV. It's about 4,000 people here, and we're going to need you to open with 20. And he said, open with 20 what? He goes, they said 20 minutes of what?
And
stand-up.
you did comedy like that?
Never in my life had I done stand-up. So he was a white dude. He went more white.
Right.
He went to a whole. He went to a whole other shade. I don't know. He was
almost transparent.
Yeah. He was translucent.
Yeah, translucent.
Yeah. So he took me to dinner and he said, "Here's what we're gonna do," and it was brilliant. He said, "Tell me any story right now that you think is funny," and I told the story about taking my mom as my date to the Golden Globes and you know, I introduced her to Meryl Streep, and my mom literally froze, and she had a moment. And he goes, "Okay, stop. This is all you're going to do on live television tomorrow. You're going to attempt to tell that story. And during the through line of that story, you're going to keep getting interrupted. I'm going to be in the front row. I'm going to be heckling. You're going to throw me out. So you can't invent a stand-up overnight." So what he did was he utilized my acting skills. So because we had to survive.
Oh, my God.
We couldn't thrive. We had to survive. So I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. But it's like I had to somehow on live television do 20 minutes of stand-up. I'd never done it in my life. So my point is, I was scared after that. It terrified. No, I did have a great time because they say ignorance is bliss. Right. Thank God. Thank God. I was so stupid I didn't know any better.
Not knowing the size of it. Like, oh.
Yeah. So I somehow survived, and the other great comics got up there and did their thing. So I got a sense of it. And since then, you know, I've been, you know, taking my time and crafting it, and then started touring in about 2017. And so, and here we are, and I absolutely love it. And it's a blast, and it's a chance to tell stories and do impressions, and, you know, give them what they want, because I know they're going to want to see a little Ari, but I get to show them my journey, and I'm having a blast.
Hey, man, but that's got to be a blast and also scary kind of at the same. I don't know if it is now, but even with coming in early on, if you're, you know, the guy that's the actor, you know, you have not a different dream, but comedy is where it's so lonely as well. You know, because all eyes are on you, unless you got like a comedy duo and we don't see things like that, or, you know, a trio, but it's like you're right there and it's instant. Either you're instantly bombing or it's instant gratification. Yeah. You know, when you went live that night, you never thought like you had a fire to do it again, or did you feel like at one point like, oh, I can't do that again? That was brutal.
It was I was so underprepared. I mean, if there, you know, the actor's nightmare is being thrown up on stage and you don't know what play you're in and you don't know your lines, and we all have that. And I experienced a stand-up nightmare, which is you're on live television, you don't know how to do stand-up, and you better make it happen. So it was terrifying.
How long did the minutes feel like?
It felt like 11 lifetimes. Right. You know? It was crazy, but at the same time, you know, it was genius advice, which is you're not doing stand-up. You're going to tell this story, and then you keep getting. So it became kind of an acting exercise. I think you know people. They say that the most terrifying thing in the world is doing stand-up. I think there are a lot more terrifying things, but you know, there is something terrifying about being up there. But if you can walk through that, as you know, if you can, you know, be on stage and feel like, oh my God, this is terrifying, I'm bombing, and walk through that fire, you'll come out the other side.
Why you never watched it?
Just because it's almost like it would be like I don't sit. Mediocrity doesn't sit well with me.
Gotcha.
I'm not a fan of being viciously mediocre.
Gotcha.
So I knew there's no way that it's going to be interesting watching me. You know what I mean? It just would be. I've never seen it.
Yeah, man. Well, let's put it on right now.
No. Oh my God.
Hey, man, he said no. He meant that.
I would run out of here.
Hey, man, did you ever watch like Entourage or any of your other movies? Did you watch Entourage? Because there's times, Jeremy, where I'll do something and I won't watch it. I'm like, there's no way I can change it. It's out there, it's done. You know,
it's funny you say that, because with acting, I can always learn. I can look at it and go, oh wow, I thought that was amazing, and no, that's not really working. So I can correct.
So it's like your tapes. Like if you play football, it's like, oh, okay,
it's
watching
tape.
Yeah,
exactly. Or if something works, go, the only trap is to see that something works and go, okay, it worked. Let me try to repeat that.
Gotcha.
So, but it's always fun to watch, and if you're in a flow state, then it's fun to watch. You know, I have this movie that I don't even know what the rules are with actors now.
Oh man, yeah.
Are we
I'm
allowed
scared.
to? Oh yeah.
Is it a new movie or?
Well, I feel like
project?
the acting police could come in at any moment and just take me away.
Yeah, we got this phone here.
Right.
they listening live.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So there's and I know you can't talk about it because the strike and everything, but I can say as a broadcaster that there is a project that's coming out, and it's September 1st. It's on Hulu, and it's Sweetwater, correct?
Yes.
And that's about the first. What you can give me the first African American
to break the color barrier.
Okay, stop right there. And you played the coach.
The coach.
I played the coach, but
Don't say too much. I don't want to get you caught up.
I know, I heard that, but you know what's so crazy is that now you know the idea of an all-white NBA league is
man.
That's insane.
Yeah,
it's almost like white dudes are trying to break into the game.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Like, man, we need some white boys in here. Like, man, they over there. It's a whole different affirmative action. Like, man, go out and scout me a white dude.
We can't find any, man. Just get me one.
And then even when they have white skin, they're not American.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, good though.
And then they're too good.
Yeah. What the hell is good? And now they're winning MVPs and championships.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Are you a sports fan?
I'm a huge sports fan.
Really? Who's your team?
Well, I'm from Chicago,
Right.
I got the Chicago.
You don't have to though. No,
well, the Chicago Bears, we're just happy that Aaron Rodgers left,
right,
so that we got him out of the division, and we can,
right,
because as he said, he kept owning us, and it was awkward.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Man, so do you feel like Chicago is back in position, like as the Bears?
I think so, but you have to understand, all Chicago fans are wildly optimistic. We waited 108 years for the Cubs to win, you know, so we're optimistic. We're diligent.
Damn,
we're
that is true.
loyal.
108 years.
Yeah.
People that were like, man, next year's our year. You know how it'll be greater later?
Yeah.
Yeah, on your 9th birthday, you was
Right.
like, hey, next year. And then you saw some people like 80, and like, next year.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Oh, my God.
They waited 108 years for that.
Yeah, man.
So I'm a Chicago fan, but at the same time, living here, you know, I love the Lakers.
Right. You just caught up with LeBron not too long ago, too, huh?
When I was promoting Sweetwater with Everett Osborne, who brilliantly plays Nat Sweetwater Clifton, we were courtside, and I hadn't seen LeBron since he did Entourage when he was a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, and it was just it was very surreal to see him and to catch up. And
Did y'all have a moment?
We had a moment. He's still the same dude. You know, he's like an overachieving, just like dude who's still childlike. You know, he's not bitter. He's not jaded. He's still got that energy about him, even though he's a billionaire and he's crushing the game.
Yeah, man.
It's a lesson.
And this last season, everything. It's been a great career, but everything with, you know, leading the scoring, like everything came together.
Yeah.
At a point where you're like, man, how much more does this guy have?
Yeah.
And he has a lot more.
He does.
Yeah, man.
He does. I think he's going to be kind of he'll do whatever he wants. I mean, you see guys like Tom Brady, you know, playing into their mid-40s. There's no reason why LeBron can't do that. You know, he takes such good care of himself.
Right, man. And then there's so many things that help you with the body, the machine, too. Did you play any sports?
I played football, which is confusing because my jersey number said linebacker and my body said kicker.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? So I looked like a kicker.
Yeah.
I was the only white boy on my football team.
And was this in Chicago as well?
On the north side.
Wow.
Yeah. And I talk about this on stage, man. I unpack all this. You know, that's the one great thing, one of the many great things about stand-up is like whatever memories or whatever you have, you just bring them up and you work them out on stage. And people can tell when, you know, they say real recognizes real.
Yes, sir.
If you're being real, you know, you got them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had some interesting moments growing up. You know what I mean? And some of them I can't really say on the radio.
Right.
You got to come to Brea.
Right, as we should.
Yeah. And, you know, if you've got something and you haven't quite worked it out yet, you know, work it out on stage.
Is the stage therapeutic for you as well?
So therapeutic.
Yeah, man.
But, you know, and it's one of those things, like you said, like, it can be terrifying, but at the same time, you know in real time if it's working or not. And Chappelle said to me one time, if you can't be funny, at least be interesting. And he's always interesting.
Hell yeah, he is. And there's sometimes when I hear Chappelle and I'm like, was that a joke?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like
Yeah.
that was so like intelligent. Like, and he'd take you there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, that was a joke. That was very intelligent. Did you
Right.
do Muay Thai as well? Did you do martial arts?
You know, I grew up doing it, and I was training for an action film over in Australia, and you know, it's funny. I had this trainer. I went over to this trainer, and she said to me, you know, I can train you because you're a NARP. Have you ever heard of this term,
No.
NARP? I said, what is a NARP? She goes, you're a non-athletic regular person. I was like,
Is that like a compliment? That's like a compliment.
God.
Like,
No, it
I
is-
see something in you. It's not a compliment. It's not this, but it's a
bad, bro.
compliment.
There's
Like, how do
nothing-
I take this?
no,
Right.
there was nothing kind about it, my man.
That's why I said.
No, shoot.
That's why hear me,
Nah.
Jeremy. I said it's a
Wow.
compliment. This.
It was a straight up 1000% diss. It was.
Yeah.
I was being heckled at the gym.
So you
it was
are
awkward.
a NARP.
Yeah, apparently I'm a NARP. I identify as an elite athlete.
Right.
But apparently I'm a non-athletic regular
no,
person.
if you identify as a immaculate athlete, or
Yeah.
that's how I'm
what you
looking at
are.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you are.
Oh my gosh.
So
Exactly,
so
you better
she
respect
take you
me.
from a NARP, you know, and it's got to be hard with that coming from a woman too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you recognize the NARP in me,
Yeah.
and Ani's over laughing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's messed up, man.
yeah. And so what is NARP again?
Non-athletic regular person.
Damn.
Yeah.
Had anyone ever heard of
Never.
NARP?
No.
Oh, okay. Is that a thing or is that her thing? Have you found any other NARPs? Is that like NARPs Anonymous or anything
Yeah,
like that?
I need to. Well, you know what? I don't want to. That's
There is a
It's
NARP?
on Google when you Google it.
Yeah.
See? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
there it is. Is there
It's
a picture
re-
next to it?
No.
the picture
Jeremy
of me.
picture?
Yeah. Me just trying to do a pull-up.
Yeah. But you know what? It's always the element of surprise. When you're a NARP, and then when you do something like, I didn't see that coming out of Jeremy Piven.
Well, I mean, that's what's crazy is like, I can do the splits.
Yeah.
You know, like I played organized football growing up. I did Muay Thai, you know, a little jujitsu, and so I can move. And you know, but that's what's so interesting about these times is like everyone identifies as something, and she identifies me as that, and I identify as something completely
Right,
different.
right.
So you just got to get in there and work your butt off.
When
and-
did you
and-
figure out, what year were you a NARP? Like, when did you know? Like, what year did you find out that you were a NARP?
I'll never forget it. It,
Right,
it
right.
was. It was my. It was
How
actually.
can you forget?
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was a senior in high school,
Oh.
and I remember I
Oh, my
went to go block this guy. I was playing football, and I went to go hit him. I lowered my shoulder, and I bounced off of him.
Yes,
and
because you're a NARP.
Yes, I.
But
flew-
you didn't even know then.
I had no clue.
And then when you get diagnosed,
Right, and then here we are. Thank God.
Diagnosed
hey
by a
man,
trainer.
but that's got to be hard. Like when you said NARP, I'm thinking you training for like a movie or you're of age. At 17, it would have hurt me for somebody to say, "Oh, you're a non-athletic regular person."
Right.
Like I would take that home with me. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been Ari Gold. I wouldn't have done anything else because
Right.
I would have been wrapped up in my feelings.
No, you know what? It's funny you say that, but you're
You built off of that.
Yeah, and you would have as well. I think, to be totally honest with you, those are the moments of that you have to be grateful for, because when you realize, oh, okay, you know, I really want to be a pro. I want exactly.
You want to be a VARP,
Yeah,
a very athletic regular person.
Exactly,
Right. Elite. You want to be a
Earp.
Wyatt Earp.
Right, Wyatt Earp.
Yes.
Oh man.
You know, it's those moments where you're like, okay, I'm not going to thrive in this lane, but man, I love being on
Do
stage.
you remember her name?
I can't say her.
Okay.
I can't say her name. Tracy.
Right. I would thank her at award shows and all
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly. That's a good call.
Yeah. There's more coming up. What's happening with you on the acting side?
Well,
As much as we can speak about it, you know what I'm saying? But-
Exactly. For the past, this is going to get crazy. For the past 12 years, I've been putting together a movie. My mom gave me this short story by Arthur Miller, who was this Pulitzer Prize-winning author, and it's called The Performance, and it's about a tap dancer in 1937 that is Jewish and that ends up dancing for Hitler.
Oh, whoa.
It's crazy, yeah. And so I looked at this and went, "Oh my God, what a powerful story!
Whoa.
What a powerful story, right?" And you know, right now it's interesting because we have racism, we have anti-Semitism, and how can I contribute? Because we can talk about it, we can write an op-ed, we can get out there and rail against it, or I can do what I do, which is as an actor, I can create a story, that people can see both sides and how insane it is to have any hate in your heart, how ridiculous it is. So I made this movie, and on September 5th, we're done with it. My sister ended up adapting it and directing it. And for the past 10 years, I've been learning how to tap dance, and we did it.
No,
yeah,
bro. So your mom comes with an idea.
Yeah.
You learn how to tap dance. You do the movie, and your sister's involved as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some good. That's some good checks.
I can. Well, not yet.
Right.
Not yet. But it's not even about the checks, to be honest with you. It's about like
the story.
The story, and I'm so proud of it, and it exceeded my expectations. And we'll put it out there. And it's.
Are you on the soundtrack too? Is it all drums?
No, it's funny you say that. I do play the drums.
See?
in the film. You got it right. And it was torture in the beginning trying to learn. Imagine being an adult in a class with a bunch of children trying to tap dance, and they're crushing it, and you're trying to catch up. So if you can walk through that humiliation, I think that's the lesson we learned today. Walk through the humiliation. There's something on the other side.
There's not enough technology where they can just float your head on something.
Man, I wish I would have known that.
You got to think now, because I always wanted to play like piano.
Yeah.
But my hands don't move like that now,
Right.
where I can say, okay, I want to play piano. Tried to play guitar. Wyclef was like, my hands were hurting, and Wyclef was like, oh, you got to get through what we call the period phase. Your hands got to bleed and blister and callus.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I work a board. Literally, I would turn the mic on and be like, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, dude, either I'm going to be like, a professional guitar player, or I'm going to keep doing this radio thing, because I can't have my hands bleeding and tapping on the board.
Yeah.
So it's
funny you say that about Wyclef, because I've played the drums with Wyclef, and he is one of the best musicians on the planet.
Yeah. So I must have looked ridiculous trying to think I'm going to be Wyclef in like 4 days.
No, but what's so great is you do your thing, and then all these people come through, and you get to mix it up with them, and we learn about it. I mean, we all have our lane.
And I was saying that because it had to be different to say, okay, I got to tap dance in this movie.
Well, I have been a drummer since I was 8, so I understand rhythm. Intrinsically, so that I always knew, okay, at the end of this sequence, I have to stick the landing. So if I miss a few steps along the way, we'll clean it up. So, by the way, had I not been a drummer, I never would have pulled this off, ever.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How long were the days?
It depends, because some days it got really, really frustrating. You know what I mean? Because once you learn the tap, then you got to learn the choreography. And there's this brilliant tap dancer named Jared Grimes, Grimy Steps. He's on Broadway right now, and he's the Michael Jordan of tap. Wow. And he had a lot of patience with me. Man. Bless him.
He didn't call you a NARP?
No, I mean, not to my face.
Okay, or a non-athletic tapping person, in the tap.
But that's how you get your revenge on these people.
Right, man.
Just keep
win.
driving.
Right, you win.
Right.
Hey, man, are they talking about an Entourage reboot?
It's funny you say that, because what HBO or the powers that be don't know, because I get to travel the country, is people have such a connection with that show.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it never left.
Hey, man, it is one of those things where it is a moment in time, and you were there. And it's one of those things that this day you still have conversations about it.
It was such a good show.
Man.
And like
Thank
you said,
you.
like there's still lines that you'll quote and moments. And then of course, like with the internet, you get memes all the time. So it lives forever in you. And if you were there to watch it live, you're just man. That was the time where you're like, I have to watch it when it airs.
And you had to watch it because it became talk. And you had to watch it because it wasn't like, oh, okay, well, I can tape it, because people, soon as an episode came on, oh, did you see last night? I gotta watch it in real time.
It's amazing, because you say you had to be there back in the day, but the reality is, after this lockdown, there's a whole other generation. Kids are coming up to me on the street because they're looking for something to watch, and they're not finding stuff they connect with. So you got these 20-year-old kids that have watched 8 seasons.
1 billion %.
I'm going, what's going on?
And the phenomenon with social media now too.
Yeah.
And like my son and daughter, my son is 16, my daughter will be 15 on the 24th of September. They know how to find stuff.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes I'm like, where did y'all get that from?
Yeah.
And it becomes a phenomenon. And Entourage has always been a phenomenon. And as you say, you're touring around the country, so you're hearing it. You know the impact of this. And the powers that be, they don't hear it, or
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that hits are hard to come by. And you know, they've rebooted you know, everything from Saved by the Bell to, you know, to Sex and the City. And all I'm saying
Fuller House.
Yeah, exactly. And all I'm saying is that people miss and are still connecting with Entourage. And, you know, it would be interesting to see Ari navigating this climate. You know,
yes, man. Oh my God.
Lloyd would be his politically correct consultant.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Man, I was about to, like, you know, you're gonna get us canceled.
Yeah,
you can't say that.
But I mean, what would be brilliant about Ari is having him try to navigate it. I mean, it writes itself.
Man.
You know,
you got influencers nowadays.
Oh my God!
You know
when you hear these,
you want to hug it out? No, not really. Let's hug it out. See, line. This is the bat line, baby.
Do you need to get that?
I do need to take this,
No,
yes.
he doesn't. I asked for 1 hour out of a day for his undivided attention. And I can't even have that.
You can have it if you want to live in Agora Hills and go to group therapy, but if you want a Beverly Hills mansion and you want a country club membership and you want 9 weeks a year at a Tuscan villa, then I'm going to need to take a call when it comes in at noon on a mother Wednesday.
Hey, Jeremy, when you hear that,
Bro, nonstop. It's
what
great.
do you remember when you what's in your head?
Is it trigger?
what's in my head is like, well, first of all, it's so interesting because as I'm listening to that speech in therapy, as we talked about, it has to be word for word. And by the way, Doug is brilliant. Doug Allen, he wrote that script brilliantly. So every word is important. It needs to be there.
I never knew it was word for word.
Oh yeah, it has to be. Yeah. So what I remember is just running it, so that by the time they all action, because acting is a momentum sport. So you got to have the momentum. You can't just be like you got to be like rolling into it. So I just remember that. And as I'm listening, I'm thinking, because now doing stand-up, I'm thinking, wow, why don't I take that little bit and lift it and put it on stage? So that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, wow, that is a good, let me steal that one.
We were over there enjoying it. You was over there working.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, and people love it, and it's fun. And, you know, Doug, who wrote it, you know, had therapy sessions with his wife. And so a lot of that stuff was, it felt real because, and I'm just guessing, I don't know now, but I think that maybe he was, using stuff from his real life.
Would you do the reboot if it came together?
Somebody yell action. Let's go.
I heard that.
Let's go. Well, we have to come back in here, though.
Right. And come back to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy, man, is that you still look good. You know how you know how there's some things that come back, you're like, whoa. Like even with me, I think when I did Entourage, I was probably 500 pounds or coming down.
Yeah.
So it was my continuity would look crazy.
We would have to address it.
Yeah.
We would have to address the weight
definitely
loss.
So. Be like, it's big on meth. No, he had gastric bypass. And he saved his own life. Like those kind of things. Because I know they did a Coming to America too.
Yeah.
And I thought Eddie Murphy looked great. I thought Arsenio looked great. Yeah. Everybody came back, and then you look at some of them, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. We're talking about a lot of years between some of these reboots, but these reboots, they have been working, man. And I think once we come out of this strike as well, everybody's going to be starving for material, and that one right there, man. Sometimes they tell you don't touch a classic too, but I think with the right people and everybody come back, yes.
With Mark.
Well, if you think about it, you're right. Don't touch a classic, but at the same time, if you have something to say,
right, why
not do it? Because
and we want to hear it.
Yeah, and people miss it. They really do miss it, and that's authentic. I think that if those guys were navigating this climate today, I think it'd be really fun, very fertile ground to cover. It wouldn't be like, oh, you're just watching karaoke. Right. It's not really hitting.
Right.
And yeah, all of us are incredibly vain, so we don't really want to age.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. I've been in a cryogenic tank for the past 14 years.
Until showtime.
Yeah, I'm ready to break me out of that tank and then just yell action.
Have you talked with Mark Wahlberg, or do you have any communication with Wahlberg?
Every once in a while, I'll run into Mark. It's been a minute. Mark is one of those dudes Mark is a businessman.
Yeah, he is.
Mark and The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
They're just straight up businessmen. Yeah. They're like Elon Musk. I mean, like they just they go to the bathroom and they come out with a new product.
Right.
It's like, wait, what just happened?
Hey, man, I saw something where you were talking about the highest paid actor.
Yeah.
Was Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and he never had an acting lesson.
Yes. And I'm like, do I sound bitter? Because I am.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Not jealous, just a little bit.
No.
Just a little salty.
But but the reality is I'm not. And that's but it's funny. Watching someone who is bitter on stage is funny, but at the same time, we can't live our lives like that. You just got to be happy for people,
right?
You know, people figured out a way to be prolific and win. Like, you just got to be happy. There's enough for all of us.
Are there any times you don't want to be recognized?
You know, it's funny. The moment you really want to be recognized, you never are.
Right.
Like, is there any way I can get this table? Sir, there's an empty table right there.
Yeah.
And they
got to go into Ari.
And they don't have a clue who you are.
Really?
You know what I mean? And then there are moments.
What about anybody in your family that want to have the privilege of your stardom? Do you have anyone in your family where it's like, dude, it's like an hour and a half wait to get on cars. Can you just go over there and see if you can get us on?
You know, my nieces I've been trying to impress them my whole life. And I remember, nothing. They just didn't care about Uncle Jeremy, nothing. And then somehow Jamie Foxx's name came up, and I was like, I know Jamie. And my niece Pearl goes, you don't know Jamie. I go, yes, I do. He's having a Christmas party. She's like, can we come? She's never wanted to do anything with me, ever. Now suddenly, so her and little friend Ava, I take him to Jamie's house. I'm about to knock on the door, and she goes, is he going to be awkward the way you are? I swear to you, I was like, what is going on?
How old is this niece at the time?
Well, she's 40 years old, so it's awkward.
Oh, okay.
She's Pearl,
at the time,
Pearl was 10.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Pearl broke the internet. Do you remember this bit with Will Ferrell? Give me my money. That's Pearl. That is Pearl.
Yeah, man, we were talking about that. Like, I shot you down too. She was like, "Fun fact," and then she said, and I was like, "Who cares?" No, but yeah, she just brought that up.
Yeah.
Oh, so you probably couldn't tell her anything. She probably started walking you to Jamie Foxx. Like,
yeah,
come on. Uncle.
She broke the internet at 2.5 years old, so she's seen it all.
Right.
And she goes, "Why are you doing stand up?" And I go, "Because Uncle Jeremy wants to make people laugh. I think I'm maybe having a midlife crisis." And she goes, "I think you're a little old to have a midlife crisis."
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I hate her. her.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, at some point, if she haven't said it yet, she's going to use NARP to somebody.
Yeah.
If she hasn't used NARP yet, a NARP is coming out of her, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. So you take her to Jamie Foxx. And did y'all have a project?
You next time if Jamie comes through here, you have to we did a movie, Jamie and I, that he wrote and directed. He and I starred in, and it's like Robert Downey Jr. and Benicio del Toro and Jerry Butler, and Jamie is still editing it, and it's been over 5 years. I'm like, bro, come on, you got to let it go. Let that baby go.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm like,
5 years.
It's enough, Jamie.
Yeah, the phone is different now.
Yeah, exactly. It's now a period piece. Right? What the hell?
That's when you do that. Man, I remember that.
Right.
I remember that.
But by the way, everything's the same because I play like a Steph Curry fan. He's a LeBron fan.
Oh, okay.
And we're trying to get to the All-Star game. And Jamie and I look the same. So let's go.
Wait, is it called like All-Star?
All-Star Weekend.
Okay, dude, I remember conversation
about this. About it.
Did Jamie tell us?
He told us about it.
Come on, Jamie. Damn, bro.
I know.
Jesus
Let's go.
Christ.
We're ready. We're ready for it.
It's not like this dude couldn't get it going. It's not like I'm walking the project in. This is Jamie Foxx.
Listen, that cast is insane. Jamie is probably the most talented dude on the planet. And just to go toe-to-toe with him was just such a blast.
Yeah, man.
Because there's nothing he can't do. And so, he's a perfectionist.
And that's when you had your improv. You're like, man, I do improv, bro. Like, this is easy. You know what I'm saying? With Jamie, it's got to be.
Well, listen, he's one of those dudes, who he can do drama, he can do comedy, he can do anything.
Very well.
So that's my background. And so, the thing that he can hit the high notes and sing and play the piano.
Yeah,
that's there's nothing he kind of can't do. So we love him, and let's go, Jamie. And by the way, heard from him, and he's doing well.
Yeah,
that's the
God.
good news.
That's good. So you've had a chance to speak with him.
Yeah, he's
after.
good.
Yeah, man. I know that it was dark, and even just out of respect, knowing, having Jamie's number or even his people, I was like, I'm not going to reach out for anyone until I know, something.
Right.
And when they say respect the privacy, I respected it. So when you start seeing them out and when you saw the video, I was like, man, thank God. Yeah. Thank God, man. But that lets you know to love people even more so while they're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Just say it.
Yeah.
And, he's got a good group around him because everyone was quiet.
Hell yeah, man.
Which is good to see.
Yeah, man. I'm still wondering. This is my guy, Jose. We've been together for decades as far as buddies.
No, Jose is going to snitch.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Oh, you know it very well.
He's going to throw you under the bus.
Oh, my gosh, man. These damn narcs. Yeah. Oh, man. He'd be like, Jose called me the N-word. For real, for false with Jeremy Piven. If I ask you something that's for real, just say for real. If it's for false. He turned down the lead role in the TV show The Office. And Steve Carell, we know he ended up getting that gig.
For real, for false.
Okay, so something.
They came to me and they said, would you be interested? And I said, are you kidding me? I am such a fan of the original, which was the British Office.
Right.
And Ricky Gervais crushed it so hard. I was like, I don't know if I can beat that. I think, I'm a very confident person in terms of my skills, but I don't know if I can beat that. So, they were curious and I said, I can't do it. So, and by the way, Steve Carell, no one could do it better. He crushed it. And I went and played Ari Gold, so everybody wins.
Oh, yeah. So I guess it ended up working out, huh?
Yeah.
Didn't it? All right. And I know this one, for real, for false. You said it. He can do the splits.
For real,
Was that from childhood? You never lost it, or?
It's hard to say where that came from. I guess maybe decades of yoga. It's hard to say. Mm-hmm. But, apparently I'm not a NARP. That's all right.
Yeah. Let that be known. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And for those just tuning in, once again, what is a NARP?
Non-athletic regular person.
There it is right there.
It's just so sad to even say.
Right, yeah. Now, if you tell a 17-year-old that today, now a teacher would be crushed. Mm-hmm. Like, it'd be on the news, like, then she called him a non,
Right.
Like, I remember, dude, when I went to school, I told you, I had a teacher that used to beat up the students. Oh. You can't have that anymore, man. You can't crack a student in the face anymore. As a teenager, he went to theater camp.
For real.
Man, so is this like an acting, like, okay, you get away and you go hone skills?
It was the dream. It was a sports acting camp.
For NARPs.
For NARPs.
Okay.
Yeah, for viciously mediocre athletes.
Right.
But yeah, it was a blast, man. You would do sports during the day and then you perform at night. So
that's dope.
We were living the dream.
How long are you? And this is away from home, or is it you go day?
It was in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. I lived in Chicago, so you'd have to drive there. By the way, I loved it so much I kept going until they were literally like, you're too old.
Right.
I was just like, I was literally too old. They're like, bro, you're 18.
Right.
Like literally, you can't come to camp anymore.
Be like, bro, you're on Entourage.
Yeah, you're a grown man. You're a grown man. You just won an Emmy. Stop going to camp.
But I get so much from here. Yeah. He smokes a cigar every day.
I wish it wasn't true, but it's for real.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's just a puff and let it go?
I love a good cigar. Really? I have my own line called the J. Piv Robusto.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
But did you bring anything in?
You know what? I should have brought it for
It'd be greater later. It'd be greater later. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to come back.
Do you sell merch at your shows as well?
You know what?
I would sell my own cigars.
You know what? I don't, which is weird because I'm Jewish.
Right.
And you think that I'd be better at business.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, no, I need to sell... some merch. Good call.
Man. Oh my God.
Maybe some "Let's Hug It Out, bitch" T-shirts.
Yeah. Can we get that without being caught up? Or get the brothers to sell it on the outside. Like you get the shirt and I get my partners to sell it on the outside.
There you go.
Like they're not connected to you.
There you go.
Alrighty now. And I'm hoping, man. In 1994, he got malaria while filming PCU and had to be rushed to the hospital.
That is a true story.
Really?
I went to Guatemala. My buddy said, "Oh no, you don't need any shots." And I went back. It was my first TV show out of college. It was the Larry Sanders Show with Gary Shandling, one of the legendary shows that kicked off original programming on HBO. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the middle of a scene, And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I just passed out. The next thing I know, I'm in my dressing room and they're vacuuming around me, and I'm in a pool of sweat. I didn't know what was going on, and I got malaria. Wow. Yeah, it was very surreal.
How in the hell did you get malaria? And what does malaria, aside from passing out, what does malaria feel like?
It feels like, it's very interesting. You get a temperature which is 100 and whatever it is, 106, and then you go and you start like shaking, so you get the chills. You go back and forth to these extremes, and your body is preparing to die, because it was the first killer of civilization was malaria, and they cured it with acupuncture. Believe it or not, this sounds like the worst TED Talk ever. By the way, early in Mesopotamia.
Is this in your stand-up? You probably think, I don't work this in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, your body is preparing to die, and they didn't know what was going on with me, because in this country, we don't really have an infectious disease department. So they were like, we don't know what's going on, man. And so thank God they identified it. And, now you just take a pill,
right?
When you go to Guatemala or whatever, and you take a pill.
How long were you down? And it's nothing like being sick away from the house.
Yeah.
It's totally different when you're sick away from the house. How long does malaria knock you down?
I was it was interesting because I was out for a few days, and then they gave me some good stuff, and then I went back and I was performing PCU, one an early movie from back in the day, and I had another outbreak, and then you kind of get you get taken care of. But listen, man, it just makes you appreciate health. Oh my God!
Be like, man, no more movies in Guatemala.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Well, I was running naked in the jungle. You can't do that. Kids.
Yeah. Now they call that Naked and Afraid. It's a good show now.
Yeah. And I wasn't even getting paid for it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are these ticks on my dick?
That's the new name of the show. Ticks on the dick.
Ticks on the dick. Ticks on the dick. Do you want to survive? Ticks on the dick. He has a tattoo of a drum machine, of a drum, because of course you were a drummer. Right. Do you have a drum?
False. Now, very false. False. Never. No tattoos.
Are you? But you play drums.
I do play drums.
But you have no tattoos.
No, sir.
I heard that.
No.
Or you don't want to tell us because you're afraid the next thing I'm going to say is show it.
No, man. No tattoos. It's just just one of those things. Played drums my whole life, but no tattoos.
Really though?
Yeah.
In a day of everybody having tattoos now.
I think what's radical and edgy is to not have a neck tattoo. Oh. You used to be like, man, that dude is. If you saw a guy with a neck tattoo, you got scared. Now it's like, no, I think he's in Maroon 5.
Right?
I think we're all right.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Hey man, I remember when Mike Tyson first got his face tattoo. We were like, man, Tyson got a face tattoo, on his face.
Yeah.
Now you look, everybody has a face tattoo.
Yeah.
Everybody, man.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because Jose, you don't have any tattoos. No. And Ani, no tattoos, right? What about you?
Justin Bieber tattoo.
Yeah. And well, he lost the bet and he got Justin Bieber tattooed him. So
he actually did it himself.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, we still working out a lawsuit. We still working out a lawsuit. We're trying to figure out the angle of how we can sue Justin Bieber without my getting into it because I'm the one who told Justin to do it. So without throwing myself under the bus, we're trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? I probably make class action and sue myself.
Just to get some
under the company. You know what I'm saying? So it's a sensitive place. It's a sensitive place.
There's a lot of bureaucry with the Biebs.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go through Scooter anymore.
I know.
You can go direct to the Biebs.
Yeah. He's of age now.
Yeah.
But you know what though? If we were gonna sue, and Scooter's my guy too, I'm gonna sue everybody.
Yeah,
I think I would sue everybody. Kenny was there. Kenny Hamilton was there.
I love Kenny.
Yeah. So, well, I probably may sue you too.
Okay.
All righty. Have you ever been sued? You got sued once for pushing a little kid down a stairwell. For real, for false,
Jeremy?
False.
No, I just made that up, Jeremy. Hey, man, Jeremy was all in the sky. He was like,
no.
Where is this going, my brother?
Yeah.
I'd love to know how has doing stand-up changed your acting?
Great question. A comic said to me, it's going to make you a better actor. Mm-hmm. And I thought, my first reaction was, I don't buy it. The reality is, he was absolutely right. Because I think what happens is, and you can attest to this from doing stand-up, you're performing every night, and so, yes, you're not doing scripted stuff and, it's not in front of the cameras or whatever, but you're performing, you're navigating material, you're using parts of your brain that maybe you didn't necessarily, you're learning new things. You have to be totally present on your game. Are they heckling? Let me change here. What am I doing next? What's going on? And so then you take all of those skills and you go back to a set, and suddenly it does make you a better actor. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's time for an Entourage reboot.
Yeah, there it is. Remember he said it, man. Come on now. Let's make it happen.
Let's go, Ari 2.0.
Right.
Are there any other roles that you've done in your career that you would love to go back to just to kind of maybe do a different take on that character?
Ooh, The Goods, The Salesman was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. You know, it's funny. I saw a picture of Common, because Common was here with you guys. And Rashid, and he was in Smoking Aces with me.
Yeah, man.
You know, and my God, that cast, when you think about it, it's like, it's got, you know, Ben Affleck and Ryan Reynolds and Alicia Keys and Taraji Henson. Like, that movie, like, has lived on. So I just think maybe we need to follow up on that film.
You know what's crazy about something like that, too? That's almost like 20 years. Do you ever look at something like, there's times when I'll listen to a song and I look at the year and I'm like, oh my God. Like, even with like a Nelly song, I'm like, that's 20 years. Like, that's that Marlon Brando sitting at the pool, and you look up and it's like, you know, but with a movie like Smoking Aces, that's another one of those movies that you will, if it's on, you'll watch it from wherever it's at. You don't have to watch it from the beginning if you come on in the middle of it. And that's when you know that you've been invested in a project.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
For sure. That was one of those ones where it's like, it was Common's first acting role. So it was, and I remember seeing him on stage, and I was like, man, this guy is so charismatic, man. And we were looking for someone to play that role, and I went to Joe Carnahan. I was like, you got to go check out this dude Common. Wow. And I'd never seen, you know, he had never acted, but I was just like, there's something about his presence. He's a very, like, loving but intense dude.
Yeah,
He's intense.
Hey, man, if Common walked in right now, we look at each other, we just go, love, 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 love. He's just so calming, you know? Like, do you listen to music? Do you have a genre, or you listen to everything?
I listen to everything, man. It's funny. I grew up listening to old school hip hop, but then it wasn't old school.
Right.
It was just like, oh, it was
the new song.
It was Biggie coming out in real time.
Yeah,
you know. So it's you know, for me, I always have a special place in my heart for the old school stuff. And I got a place in Austin, Texas, and I never thought I would listen to country. And suddenly I found myself listening to country. So I'm all over the map.
Yeah, man.
I'm everywhere.
Same with me. I love just good music. Yeah. Did you go to concerts still?
I love going to concerts.
What was the last few that you went to? Did you go to Taylor Swift?
I don't even think I could get into Taylor Swift.
Tell me about it.
I mean, people just spending their last dime.
I know, man.
I mean, yeah, man. My God. But I have to see it because I want to know what is going on.
People came from Taylor Swift concert with nowhere to go. They had no homes.
Exactly. That's it. The nowhere to go tour.
Yeah, like I sold everything.
I'll take your home tour.
Oh yeah, man, that is crazy. What about any of the Drake dates? Did you do any of the Drake dates that was going on out here?
You know, Drake is one of those dudes where, like, I've been a Drake fan my whole life, and this is gonna sound like I'm name dropping, but I was at a party at Puffy's house one time.
Oh, pick that up for me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the name you dropped. Jesus Christ! All right, so you discovered Common and put it in movies. No. All right, so
I ran into Drake, and it was one of those moments where, like, I've just been a fan of his, and we looked at each other, and there was, we connected, and we're just laughing so hard because I don't know. There's just something about, when you see a dude that's like, oh, this is like a kindred spirit, and then we got separated. And I never got his number, never saw him again. He's one of those dudes, but I love his music. He's one of those dudes that is so talented. He's one of those guys that if he wanted to, he could go into comedy.
Oh yeah,
he could do anything.
Did you see when he was it Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
He did such a great job on that, man.
And that's not easy.
Hey man, do you feel like, I feel for you that everybody is familiar with you? Like they're familiar with your face.
Yeah.
It feel like we already know you.
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time with your characters that we feel. That's why when you walked in, I started smiling because you have brought so much. So you got to be a person that people can say, "Oh man, shit, Ari's here."
Right.
Like people know you by face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's an honor that I have this connection with people. And no one could take that away. You know what I mean? It's like that's a beautiful thing. And you know, people say, is that pressure when you walk on the stage to do stand up? And I don't think of it that way. I just think this is what brought you here. You know, a couple thousand people are going to show up at Brea this weekend, and that's not, they don't necessarily know me as a stand-up. I've made a connection with them as an actor. They're going to show up, and that's not pressure to me. That's a gift. It's like, okay, you thought you knew me. Get ready, because now you're going to really know me.
Hey, man, I remember years ago, and I was a fan of your work first, before you came into the neighborhood, before we went to sit down. And I'm going to tell you, Ari, I thought you were an asshole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I saw you and I was like, And then when we spoke, and you probably don't remember it as well, but when we spoke, I was like, damn, that dude. And not that I know how to separate the characters and everything. I just thought that you weren't going to be cool.
You know, I'm glad you said that, because you know, that's part of the reality of playing a character authentically, is there's going to be some confusion. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that's what's so great about sitting down, like in a session like this, or doing a podcast where it's like, oh, okay, this is right. You know, I tell my agents all the time, you know, we talked about on Entourage that, you know, a general meeting is a jerk-off meeting. It's like, it's not a real meeting. But the reality is, I love general meetings, because I come out of them and they're like, wow, that dude is not the way I thought he would be. Right. You know what I mean? I'm a stage actor from Chicago. You know, I'm a journeyman stage actor. That's what I am. You know, there is a real Ari Gold. His name is Ari Emanuel. He represents Mark Wahlberg. He bought the UFC. You know, I mean, he's a major, major player. That is Ari Gold.
Wow.
I'm just a stage actor from Chicago.
Is he like the character?
Exactly, 1,000%.
Oh my gosh.
And you know,
well, let's not do too much, because he's probably gonna do the reboot and get you out of there. Now they know how successful it is. Like, I'll play myself.
I mean, at a certain point, that, you know, his camp was like, you know, this isn't a documentary, right? Can you pull it back a little bit? And by the way, this dude is an evolved dude who is one of the best businessmen on the planet, and he's constantly evolving. So I think it gave him some anxiety to watch the show, to be honest with you. But, you know, because imagine, like, if there was a Big Boy show out there where there's a dude playing a fictional version of you. It's pretty daunting.
You probably don't want to watch season 2, episode 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can you tell this dude to pull back? Like, nah, Big, that is you. That is you, bro. I believe that. But thank you for coming into the neighborhood, bro.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man.
Man, you guys made this time fly by.
Man, you made it fly by.
Yes.
You guys have always been allies to me, and I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, bro. Once again, thank you for coming into the neighborhood. Jeremy Piven in the neighborhood, Big Boy's neighborhood.